finally doing it.
We're finally doing it.
Man, we've been talking about this podcast for months.
It's, yeah.
It's happening.
Half the time we're together, we're like, this should be a podcast right now. And now is now.
Now is now. I'm glad we're on it, finally.
Me too.
You know what's fun? What's funny about a podcast, especially when we're is it co-hosting a podcast? Yeah,
that's good.
Is when you listen to the podcast without watching the video version.
Yeah,
is you always wonder whose person is who. Trying to get around the voices. The tones. Okay.
Yeah. Do you ever get those podcasts where they sound very similar?
I know.
It's or TV announcers even.
Yes,
and you're
right.
like, which guy is this?
I'm telling you,
sports announcers sometimes.
Yes.
All the guys sound just like they're all like, the guy red car's passing them, like those guys, and I'm like, which guy is this?
But I'll tell you right now, it's not going to happen on this podcast.
No.
Especially with my Alabama accent.
You're deep south.
Yeah, deep south. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I am French Canadian, so there you go.
Yep.
So,
not the worst thing you've been called.
I've been called worse, man.
So, y'all know food. That's one thing I've learned about you French Canadians. You guys know food.
We love food.
Yeah, culture.
Oh,
That's
man.
one thing I notice. Every time I meet a true French Canadian, I'm like, you know food and wine and man.
I have to say we do.
Yeah. I will admit,
I'm not ashamed.
We are good at this.
If there's one thing, that's the one.
That's the one?
That's the one.
What are we talking about today?
Hey, that's the thing. We don't even know.
Well, I'm not sure.
So this is basically what you guys are going to get,
Yeah.
watching this podcast or listening to this podcast. It's me, Steve, talking about stuff,
French
especially
Canadians.
home studio stuff, that's going to be our, so if you're here and you are hoping to watch a cooking channel podcast of some sort, it's not going to happen. Even if I like food a lot, it's not going to happen.
You're a pretty good cook, though.
That's what they say.
Yeah. Yeah. You say that.
I do say that. And my guests also tend to agree.
And then you
with my
tell me
claims.
they said it. Yeah. All this data is coming from you.
That's my imposter syndrome coming out. I need to justify myself with the claims of others.
That's nothing wrong with that. What could go wrong?
Hey, man. Hey, you're taking care of cattle, so.
That's right. Who'd have thunk it?
A studio guy, music producer, working on a farm.
With cows.
With cows.
With cows. I raise them, you eat them.
Now, people are going to, whether you're going to stick around or just going to switch to another video right now.
If I wasn't me, I'm not sure what I would do.
Man, we're looking forward for this podcast. So how things are going to, the stuff we talked about before starting to press on record on this video is we want to talk about home studio stuff, questions, answer questions. Actually, this is going to be a good part of the podcast. Eventually, what we want to do is to answer anyone's questions that you leave in the comment section if you're watching the YouTube version, or you can send us an email. I'm going to leave the link to the email, which I'm not sure which one to use yet because this is still the first episode. So there's a lot of stuff to figure out that we didn't worked on yet.
Learning how to fly while in the air.
Exactly. So it's going to be listed in the show notes anyways. You can ask us any questions related to home studio, mixing, recording, mastering, whatever you want. Cooking with plugins. What about that?
See what you did there.
Oh, yeah. So anything goes, any questions, we will take the time to answer, and it's going to make this podcast pretty interesting, So it's going to be a conversation between me and Steve, of course, but also a conversation answering your question. And if you want to jump on the podcast with us, asking your question live with us, you can do so. Just write it in the email. And, of course, we won't be able to take everyone, but maybe you'll be the lucky one.
And I think a big part of what we're doing here, and just the way I think we naturally posture ourselves in life, is that we aren't big knowledge-based, theoretical audio people.
Exactly.
For us, it's way more, how does it feel? That's the whole sounds good to us idea, right? Is that if it sounds good, it is good. Right? And so just how do we get to that point? And there's a lot of great theoretical detail available. that some of it we know, some of it we don't. But I think at the end of the day for us, it's just how do we chat? How do we have an ongoing conversation?
Yes.
That I think from an audience perspective, I think it's very important. There's going to be a lot of like, I don't know, what do you guys think? Built into this that I think is going to make this kind of a fun community effort more than just us talking about how to do something or...
Totally. Totally agree. And the reality is we don't have all the answers.
Only a couple.
Only a few.
And some have to do with audio.
Some. The rest about cooking.
You.
Now, on my YouTube channel, if you're watching or listening to this podcast, you, especially the first one, you probably are part of my Mixdown Online mailing list. And lately, I published a video talking about mixing on headphones that went pretty well on YouTube. And Steve was actually asking me to maybe elaborate a bit more or go over a few things I went through on this video. So, what's your take about that, mixing on headphones?
It's just such it's an interesting topic.
It's
compelling because, what comes with a room, what comes with speakers is the room, and what comes with a proper mix room is a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Detail, math, science, wizardry. And what comes with headphones is headphones. And so to me, there's, is it a shortcut? Is it a hack? Is it a final answer? I don't know. Some would say yes. Some would say heck no. Mm-hmm. So I think somewhere in the middle lies the answer, right? And so, but as a tool, I think it's I've come to realize if you're not mixing and utilizing headphones at some point in there, you're trying to build without using a hammer or something, right? So it is a very, very necessary tool. And so I think, for me, learning more about it, because we started chatting just one day offline.
Yeah.
Even before I think you did that video, and I was just like peppering you with questions. I hate the way these headphones sound, and you're like, well, there's a solution for that, you dum-dum. And, you can change the sound of the headphones. And I was like,
What about
so then
that?
I started learning all about this, and I went down a little rabbit hole of, Harman curves and stuff. I'm sure you're going to talk about more. And so, to me, the short answer is it's very compelling, and I think it's very now, and it's important, and we're mixing on planes and in hotel rooms and in our, our cousin's basement at Christmas dinner, or whatever. And so I think, it's something we need to know about as audio engineers.
I think so too. What pushed me to mix on headphones more and more was just before my move to Calgary. Because by the way, we live in the same city. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why we're able to do what we are doing right now, being on site, doing this podcast. So we're in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I used to live in Quebec. And when I was planning on moving, this is when I was, okay, I'm going to move in a new space. I'm probably going to rent a house before buying a house, which we did. So, I need to keep going at my work, my mixing gigs and stuff, So I think at that time I was like, okay, mixing on headphones is going to be a very, very good tool. I need to train myself to mix on headphones. And I started to use my headphones for mixing and mastering maybe like at least a year before moving here. And the more I dove into this topic of mixing on headphones, this is at some point I discovered the Harman curve. And this actually, when I moved here, I was already in place. And but before the Harman curve, it was a chat that I had with Andrew Scheps at NAM. He's the one who actually encouraged, not personally encouraged me, but I was pretty encouraged to continue and diving more into mixing on headphones just because he did it on his own, on his side, and by only using even a cheap pair of headphones. And that was pretty fascinating for me. And we're talking about the Sony's MDR-7506s, which sucks so bad. I hate those headphones. Even if it was the first pair of headphones I purchased when I started audio school. And at the time, they sounded pretty good to me, but the more experience I gained, I just ended up hating these headphones. So aggressive on the mid-range, especially the high mids. And anyways, I don't want to get into debunking what these headphones sounds like, but point is that Scheps used them for years to maybe, I would say, spend 90% of his time mixing on these headphones just because he knows them pretty well.
That kid did all right. That
Apparently he did.
The Scheps feller.
Apparently he
Going
did.
places.
Places I,
Dream of.
to not say the least.
Yeah.
So, no, if it, of course he has a lot of experience, but point is he was able to do it. So I was saying, why not? Why not train myself to go to this point with, a pair of headphones I like to work with.
And there's a whole thing there too, right? Like that word train yourself. There's something to that.
Yes.
Like any change in your environment, you have to do the time.
Ooh,
and that's the part that I was missing is I would mix and mix and mix and I put on headphones and go, I don't like this. This makes me feel not great. And so I go back to the sound banging around the room and cross talking and doing all its things that sound does. But the training piece, and that was after our talk, I started just spending more time. And once you kind of settle in, then it was opposite. Then I'd take them off and I'd be like, I feel sad out here. So yeah, there is something to the training.
The training is, the part that a lot of people miss.
Because it's such a radical change.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it doesn't matter if it's an expensive pair of headphones. It doesn't matter. People think that, okay, I'm going to buy this pair of Odysseys, which are great, like the MM500, for example, that I like a lot, which apparently Scheps recently switched on. So he kind of ditched the 7506s. Good for him.
Hope his mix is still good.
I'm pretty sure he's going to get around.
He'll be all right.
Even with that, even with these types of headphones, good quality, high quality headphones, you still need to take the time.
Yes.
To train yourself mixing on headphones.
And even in that, you lent me a couple of big dog pairs.
Yes.
And I spent time with the first pair and then switched to the second pair, and I didn't like the second pair.
I know, you told me.
And it was just because maybe I spent too much time with the first pair.
Maybe.
Right? If the order was backwards, would I have felt differently? So I might steal those again before we
because they do sound different.
What's that in your pocket, Steve? Nothing. Those are not Odysseys.
Nice
You'd
try.
think I could see the cord.
At least hide the cord.
Yeah.
No, I know training yourself is very important because there's challenges when you start mixing on headphones. There's stuff that you won't get or, out of the box you're not going to get compared to mixing on boxes, on speakers.
And some of this, to me, might be, like I bought a little Bluetooth broadcaster box because I spend so much time with my AirPods in that I says to myself, I want to check my mixes on these AirPods. And so I got my little $30 Bluetooth broadcaster off Amazon and it spits out whatever's coming out of my controller.
I like that.
To the things and
Nice.
and it pairs and it's great. I can just put them in, it pairs and away I go. And instantly I started making changes to my mix because I knew these little things so much because I'd listened to so many records on these things just over years, right? And so there is something to the comfort factor of that regardless of how much they cost or don't cost, and are the Odysseys or the AirPods, I just know what they sound like.
Exactly.
Right? And so, and albums I'd listen to on AirPods, I'd listen to on my monitors while I was setting up a session or whatever. So I knew even how things translated from the room to those.
Because translation is important.
So there's something there about the comfort that you're right about. And so, a guy like Scheps on Sony's, he just knows them. And he knows how that's going to sound in somebody's car 2 years from now as he's doing it, right? So do they have to be expensive?
There's always a trade-off. There's a trade-off on everything. If you get a cheaper pair of headphones, in my experience, cheaper pair of headphones are less detailed. It's not that,
Can things be too detailed?
Maybe.
Like I put on those Odysseys and I was just like, like I'm tweaking stuff that I didn't even know was in the mix.
Exactly. And this is the stuff you won't get with the cheaper pair of headphones.
Correct. Or a mediocre room and some affordable speakers. Same thing, right?
Same.
So you're right.
The depth,
so that's where the tool piece comes in, right? Maybe
Yes.
it's not an and, it's a both, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Dang it.
So there's stuff.
That's going to cost me money.
There's stuff you can do to get the experience on mixing on headphones way better, like the Harman curve. EQing your headphones.
Explain the Harman curve. Let's do this, Professor.
Oh no,
you got to do this.
I'm not a geeky guy,
Give me
not in my nature.
Give me the Chris notes on this.
But basically, the Harman curve, to sum this up very, very quickly, it's basically an EQ curve that is going to emulate the sound of high-quality speakers in a acoustically well-treated room.
And
a flat treated room, basically.
is it done via meters or done via taste? Or yes?
I think it's a blend of both, if I'm not mistaken, because it changes every second year or so. They tweak that up a bit. There's different versions of the Harman curve. And even when I apply the Harman curve, I base myself on that, and then I tweak that to my taste, because there's always the human taste that is a factor.
Yeah.
And it's impossible to kind of apply like this is the correct 100% curve you need to use that will fit all humans. So we all have different tastes. We all hear music differently, slightly at least.
So the idea is there is this EQ curve.
Yes.
That is supposedly flat and beautiful and amazing. You then, or they, or somebody then checks the headphones against that curve, and then you then apply an EQ to try to make it match that curve on output.
Yeah.
Is that basically?
That's basically
that's
it.
my.
That's basically. But again, it's not like a curve that is going to bring your headphones flat.
Right.
It emulates a flat, or like good high quality speakers in a flat, well treated room.
So every pair of headphones will take sound and treat it differently, and this curve, when applied, theoretically brings them closer to this.
What generally humans will tend to like.
This. So you're applying a different curve EQ setup to every pair of headphones.
Yeah. And some headphones are really close by nature.
I was going to say, and that's where higher quality might win.
Yes.
In some ways, because it can pull things out that a lesser pair of headphones could not. If it ain't there, it just ain't there. You can dig for it as an EQ, right? But if you've got a big, beautiful pair of headphones, you can get those little minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So that's about it as far as the Harman curve goes. And in my experience, since I started to work with the Harman curve, it gave me a way better experience listening to music in my headphones, but also better mixing decisions. And translation was quicker to get good translation across the board.
It is radically different.
It is.
When you apply. Like you gave me the headphones to borrow, and you sent me to, what is it, Auto EQ?
Yes.
I think Auto EQ.
Yes.
And I did that thing, and just, that's a great little rabbit hole of Google.
Oh yeah,
the Auto EQ thing. There's some great videos.
I shared that on my video.
Yeah, there's some great information on that I took in, basically understood it, applied it, and it was a different pair of headphones. It was entirely different. And then when you go back, you feel so sad. Like when I take that thing off, I was like, how does anybody listen to music like this? What are we, animals?
Exactly.
It's so it was a weird bit of tech, and it changed my headphone mixing life radically.
Exactly.
Instantly.
Yes. Yeah, same here. It's not everyone that likes this, that likes it for sure.
But just the idea that you could do that.
You could.
And from there you start tweaking to taste.
Yes.
Right? And that was it. I was like, if I had more time, if I owned these headphones, I didn't have to bring them back to Chris tomorrow, then I would have spent time and just tweaked and tweaked and tweaked. Mm-hmm. So there's
often a boost, especially on the lows, the low end, when it comes to the Harman curve.
Yes.
On most headphones. Not all of them.
Yeah.
But on most headphones.
Some of them just squiggle up on the high end.
Yes.
You can see it, just kind of a little squiggly.
And those two extremes are always the ones I just tame down a bit to my taste.
Yeah.
Just to reach the sweet spot.
So does a well EQ'd, beautifully constructed and paid for, probably monthly, in some of these headphones cases. The bank is going to own them for the first year and a half.
For sure.
Visa. Does that replace a good set of speakers?
To an extent, I think it has a potential to. Do I think it's I still use my speakers. At first, when I first started to mix, use my speakers all the time, and checked on headphones.
And if you don't have great speaker, because the best pair of headphones, you're a really good pair, you're $5,000 or something. A really good pair of speakers, you're 10 times that, right? Or $20,000 for some
it
big
could
boxes
go
or whatever.
Pretty
so
high.
So is it apples and apples there? Do you know what I mean? Like if I have a $5,000 pair of speakers and a $5,000 pair of headphones, are we still switching? Are we giving them
the
equal
big
weight?
difference is going to be the room,
which is another.
Because the good thing about the headphones is that it gets rid of the room aspect of using speakers. Now speakers, you can have like a $10,000 set of speakers in a crappy room.
Yeah,
it's going to sound crappy.
Yeah. Okay.
The speakers will sound good, but the room, the reflections, all that stuff is going to hold you down.
Exponential problems.
You know, so you're better off with a cheaper pair of speakers in a very better, well-treated room than the other way around, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree.
And this is the part that headphones will get rid of, the room part, which is an advantage on mixing on headphones.
Right out of the box.
However, there's some stuff that we get when listening to a speaker environment in a controlled room that we don't get on headphones, like the crosstalk effect.
Which is
basically, when you listen to speakers, you have your left ear that is still going to grasp some sound coming out of the left speaker. Okay. Did I say that right? Right,
no,
left. Okay.
But we know.
Okay.
You use your hands very effectively.
Yeah, so that helps. So you need to watch the video version of the podcast or else you're going to be lost.
The speaker opposite your ear.
There you go. The speaker opposite to your ear.
Basically, both your ears are always hearing both speakers.
Yes, not at the same level, but they still...
Yes. Versus headphones, where they're right in your ear hole. Right up there in your...
Yeah, so that cross-feed, cross-bleed effect is... there's none on headphones.
And there are some little plug-in things.
But there's plugins.
Yeah, there's a plug-in for everything.
There's a plugin called, was it Can Opener, I think?
Yeah.
Can Opener is one of them, and the only job it does is the crosstalk. That's it. It's pretty cool.
It's cool.
So even if you just get your left headphone out of the way, and you just pan the left signal only, and you're gonna hear it on the right side. And quieter, but you still, it gives you that effect, a more natural effect on.
And if you think about it, it's really a cool name.
It is.
It took me a minute. I was like, what? Oh, I get it. I get it.
And there's other software. Every room emulation plugin for headphones will have by default a crosstalk also.
Because that's a lot of what room emulation plugins are doing.
They are.
Right?
They will bring you in a room, basically, in a treated room. They could bring you in a car. They could bring you depending on which plugin you use.
Like brands of cars. It's pretty.
Brands, I know.
It's wild.
A Jaguar,
Tesla. I love that. What a time to be alive.
I know. I still never use them, but still a good time to be alive.
It's good to know they're there. Here's my question I thought of on the way here today that I wanted to ask you. I call you and I go, Chris, your favorite band just released their new album, and you're like, I didn't know that. And I go, it sounds amazing. Drums sound amazing. Great low end, great sizzle, great sound, great vocals. It sounds awesome. It's the new remix of Baby Shark or whatever you're into that month. How do you listen? You're just gonna sit down and take this thing in. You got your little wine, French Canadian wine, and you're gonna enjoy this thing. How do you do it?
I'm going to pour myself a little glass of bambu.
Yeah.
Okay,
obviously.
my favorite rum.
Oh, it's delicious.
Okay, the best.
It's delicious. I've heard.
You've heard about it.
I can't afford it.
Honestly, I'm going to use one of my favorite pair of headphones.
So headphones.
Yeah, I'm going to jump on headphones right away.
That was the thought I had too.
And funny enough, I do even on my Mac, on my system.
Yeah.
I have this little app which is called, let me check here. Sound Source. Yes. I actually talked about that on my video also. And I have my EQ profile applied to my headphones and with Can Opener also applied. Straight out of Cubase. So it's
headphones.
Headphones.
You got a beautiful room, beautiful speakers, and headphones is where you go. That was the thought I had on the way here.
I'm going to switch to speakers after, but my first reflex, I'm just going to put on my headphones.
I'd probably put on my AirPods.
And you know what? Lots of people do. The majority of music listeners in 2024, entering 2025, are going to listen and consume music on headphones.
Yes. It's interesting.
It is.
And that was the thought I had. Like in a beautiful room with beautiful speakers, I still would put on headphones.
And especially now that I've finished my panels, my acoustic panels, I don't have like those ugly leftovers I had.
It's been a journey for you.
It was quite a journey.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It looks nice.
I just need to fix them on the wall now, but that's it.
Next year.
One step at a time.
So headphones for the listening win.
Now.
That's a please comment.
These days.
Please comment on that. If you have a nicely treated room, do you go headphones first or speakers first when your new Baby Shark or remix?
Yeah, but the thing is, on my end, though, I moved into this space a year and a half ago. I only had like leftovers of acoustic material from my older studio, which I recycled into these little panels. You can actually see on the video version of the podcast. So it's, I don't know if I trusted my room as much as I trust my
But just for pleasure listening, headphones?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I do.
So that kind of sums up the whole episode there.
I know. Headphones,
Headphones are great.
But when I mix and master, I always check on my speakers, though. But I do it the other way around. Before, I was checking on my headphones, mixing on speakers. Now I do the opposite. Like, I would say 85% of my time, I'm going to spend it on headphones. And even, I use several pair of headphones, not even the same pair.
Okay.
So Odyssey's MM500 for the most of my mixing. When I'm near the end of the mix, going towards mastering, the head are going to be my way to go, especially for mastering.
You like those heads?
Yeah, I do. But I always check in on speakers.
This could be my last question for you. But
also, that's an interview.
Yeah. I'm interviewing the professor. Just because you've spent a lot of time with these headphone things.
I know. Yeah, you're right.
I love it. You learned a lot for that video you did. That's what started this whole thing.
Actually, what started the whole thing is Paul Third with his video,
Yeah.
I was actually mixing on headphones at that point, but I was missing that little something,
Yeah, that was such a fun conversation.
It was.
You does what?
Exactly.
You could what?
Okay, I want to know more about that.
We EQ everything in the studio. Why wouldn't we?
We do it for the room acoustics.
Yeah, why wouldn't we EQ our headphones? It was such a stupidly simple. When you said it, I just my eggs almost fell off my fork.
You remember back in the day, you had like that nice sound system you put on a CD or a cassette, We're old enough to know what cassettes were.
A DAT tape.
Exactly. And the first thing we did, let's boost the bass and treble.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Turn that Dolby on and off.
Of course.
The hiss?
Oh, yeah. The hiss was the best.
I did the hiss.
It was awesome.
Authentic hiss. So my last thought is, does the headphone amp conversion conversation, does it matter?
Okay, now, I'm at to this point now.
Yeah.
And this will probably come for another episode.
Yeah.
If people are interested in knowing more about that, because that is the next step.
Yeah.
Okay, what about the conversion?
Yeah.
Quality.
You plug the headphones into something.
The amp.
And you're still dependent on that. Mm-hmm. Like your sound is only as good as the thing you plug into on many levels.
For sure. Right now, I'm using my interface.
Yep.
Which is the Steinberg AXR4 interface, which I'm looking on replacing soon with something else.
Yep.
For other reasons.
Yep.
But now, again, I'm going to have to give another shout out to Paul Third about using an amp,
Yep.
So, I'm waiting. I'm supposed to receive soon.
That's a smart guy.
He is, man.
That's a guy
smarter than me, man.
He does a lot of stuff. Both of us combined,
dude.
Oh man,
he does.
Oh,
he does.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
So I'm waiting. I'm waiting for my DAC.
Okay.
And my headphone amp.
Okay.
And I'll let you know if that is really, really worth it.
Let me know. I'm going to be here when you unbox it.
I'll invite you.
Pressed against the outside the studio. Watching.
Let's see. But apparently it's the way to go.
Yes.
A lot of audiophiles, all audiophiles, that uses headphones, they usually have like a bunch of different amps.
It seems logical.
It seems logical. It does.
Yeah. I mean, you're only as strong as your weakest link kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But now the whole conversation will go after this point, after I'm done with the amp and DAC thing. Now, what about Atmos?
Oh, stop it.
There you go. That is going to be I guess.
That's a 4-episode series.
A future conversation.
Confusion.
Because the thing with Atmos, we're not going to dive into Atmos.
Yeah, 4 episodes. 4.
But I'm waiting for the perfect solution, like the right solution to start mixing Atmos using headphones.
It'll come.
It's probably already here. We'll see.
Because that's how a lot of people are taking it in anyway.
Yes.
A majority, I would guess. So
my question, why would I invest thousands of dollars into a full Atmos speaker setup? If I can, I don't know.
4-episode series.
Maybe it's the same question as using speakers for mixing,
Yeah.
opposed to headphones.
Okay.
Which I still think speakers are a good way to go. Even if you have even if the room is not perfectly treated, it's good to have a good pair of speakers.
They are all tools.
Yeah, all of them.
Tools. None of them are the solution. That's what I've learned.
I've learned that too.
Just buy them all.
All right, Steve, so this is time for our Q&A portion of the podcast, and this question is by Stefan. So watching a YouTube video, the guy said that before he starts a mix, he always converts his virtual instrument stereo files into mono audio files for instruments like drums, bass, stuff like that, So what are your thoughts? He's asking, okay, why would you do this? What are the benefits, and does it even matter?
So he is saying, if I interpret correctly, stereo file where both sides are identical.
Exactly.
The thing gets, like a bass.
A bass, a kick drum.
So you get a stereo, and I get that all the time. People, can you mix my stuff? And I get like 32 stereo tracks.
Probably recorded in Logic.
And very few of them are actually stereo tracks. So I think first thing in my head is always to make sure they are truly mono. So I'll just quick, phase flip and make sure it's actually mono, because sometimes I've made that mistake too.
Yeah.
Where in the third chorus it was supposed to do this, and I checked it, killed it, and whatever. So first check, then blow them into two monos, and then delete one side, right? And I think in my mind the main reason is, for me personally, is my touch of OCD just thanks me that mono is mono and stereo is stereo. And so when I'm dealing with it later, I just know. I know this is mono in my head. When I look at it, I know it's mono. Obviously, plug-in processing, there's a little advantage there. Mm-hmm. Panning is huge. You're not doing this weird sum panning, and you're not dealing with all this panning madness. You just have one little waggly woo to swing left or right, and away you go. That's a huge one for me. That's the biggest one. Is all that complex panning in these, in the DAWs now just confuse my brain, right? And so that, I guess those would be the main reasons in my head. Do you have any additional?
No, I think you covered probably everything that I think on my side too, For me, looking at a session, I know that the drums, especially drums, a bass, I want to know which of the channels are stereo and which are mono. So drums, it's pretty obvious, so I know right away. If I have a bunch of stereo drum tracks, it's going to drive me crazy. Even in busing, you're not busing to two places. Exactly.
So everything just becomes way clearer.
Exactly. Is it going to stop me from mixing a song? No.
No, I hope not.
No.
You need a different hobby. Well, I can't mix music anymore.
All the tracks are in stereo.
I quit. My mom said I should get a job. Today's the day.
So, it doesn't matter. It's a workflow thing for me, and for from what I understand from you also. Does it really matter on the sound of the project?
Nope.
No, I don't think it's going to change much. There's probably going to be a volume difference between a mono version and a tiny touch. The stereo version might be a bit quieter.
It removes the redundant.
But that's it.
That's
it. But so what are the benefits, he's asking? Yeah, for me, it's all about workflow, you said.
Yep. It's just one less distraction. And some of these mixes are so dense, right? It's one less thing to think about.
Exactly.
At midnight.
Exactly. And and all that to say that, and that wasn't part of the question, but it leads also to bouncing your MIDI virtual instruments into audio. Is this something you do on all sessions, or do you mix on your side virtual, the MIDI version of an instrument?
It depends. Typically I bounce.
Yeah,
bounce or freeze or commit or whatever makes sense in that instance. But I don't trust them to come back 2 days later and it's still the same thing.
Exactly.
It's a trust, and it's because I lived through. It's way better now, but I lived through the era where it was a kick yesterday, it's a flute today, right? Just like that. You hear that a couple times in your life, and you start committing that day. I'm like, not that there's anything wrong with flute. If you're a flute player, no offense, you're a kick flute, but
this is a combination of the kick and flute that's just off for some reason.
I actually did an impression of a kick flute.
I love it.
So that's it. It's for me. It's just it's a trust factor. Any other questions?
I don't.
I got more sounds.
Yeah, I think for the first episode, that's going to be good enough.
Was it time for rum?
So that was fun. That was the first podcast.
It might be the last.
Maybe the last. We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully my mom will listen.
Our wives might not let us do this anymore.
So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Studio Stuff podcast. And we'll see you next time.
Yes. Hopefully.